What's up, everybody? I'm Jesse Showalter, and today we're going to be talking about the uncomfortable topic of deposits. A lot of new designers will make the rookie mistake of not asking for a deposit up front before they start a project. Whether it's because of fear or lack of confidence or maybe ignorance, they just don't know that they should be asking for a deposit. A lot of times it's going to come back and it's going to bite you in the butt. And so I wanted to share a little bit about my experience and my process in requiring deposits to help you from getting your butt bit. Okay, first reason on the list why you need to use a deposit, and it's probably one of the biggest in my opinion, is that it minimizes the chance of non-payment. Let's say you've started a new project and you didn't take a deposit and you've put in days, weeks, or months of work with no guarantee that you're gonna get paid at the end, and the client all of a sudden is not reachable. All of a sudden they're not interested. They don't like the work that maybe you've provided to them. Even if you have some sort of contract or agreement in place, which you absolutely should, it still doesn't guarantee that they're gonna pay. And it can be a lot of hassle to chase people around and get them to pay what they owe you. The better thing to do is to make sure that you at least have a large chunk of that payment upfront in deposit format so that you can at least fall back on that income if the rest of the payment doesn't come through. It's definitely not as good as getting paid in full, but something is better than nothing. Lesson learned. Reason number 2 to take a deposit is because it keeps your clients more invested in the project. If you have a client who's already made a monetary deposit, they're much more likely to stay invested through the entire process and much less likely to go missing halfway through and not answer their calls. They've already paid money, they want some sort of output from the money that they've paid. It also makes them usually a better client from start to finish because they are now seeing the value that you're providing from the very start. The third reason on the list why you should be using a deposit is so that you have the necessary cash flow to run your business and complete the project. Even if you're working remote, you have expenses. You have to pay for your overhead or equipment, or maybe you have to have certain, resources to complete the project, like a domain or hosting or certain materials that you're printing on. You want to make sure that you have a deposit so that you can pay for all of those things, including outsourcing work to other vendors if you need it, and not have to constantly back and forth interface with your client asking for more money, or the worst thing you could possibly do is you fronting the money and footing the bill with no guarantee. Now you're actually going backwards. You're taking huge steps back into the red if you don't have a deposit. Deposits are just so important. They free up a lot of stress off of you. They allow you to focus and do really, really good work because during those times of creativity, you're not worrying about the fact that you haven't been paid for such work. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about is the amount of money you should take as a deposit. I know lots of people take different amounts, maybe 20%, 30%, 40 to 60. I'm a person who likes to make things really simple and easy. I take 50% as a deposit upfront. The reason I take 50% upfront is because it's enough of a deposit to where if they don't pay, it's probably at least covered my costs and my overhead. I probably didn't make anything off the project, but I'm at least safe at that point. I feel like the client coming halfway and me coming halfway, it's a nice, fair space to operate in and everybody feels happy about it. Okay, next up, let's talk about payment schedules because you might think it's just 50 at the start and 50 at the end, but that's not necessarily the case for me. Although that's not a bad payment schedule if that's what you want to do. But I tend to take 50% up front, and then when I hit a designated milestone that's been laid out in the contract, it says when I do X, Y, and Z and deliver these things, you'll pay me the next 25%. And then at the very end, when I'm delivering the final deliverables, you'll pay me the final 25%, 50, 25, and 25. The reason that I set up a payment schedule like that outlined in the contract from the start is because as I'm continuing to work, once I pass that threshold of doing a large majority of the project and I'm moving into that next milestone, well, now all of a sudden, maybe I'm not covered by that 50% deposit anymore. I've done more than what that pays for. So I want to be compensated as I go. Okay, next up is payment methods. Which ways are the best ways to receive your payment? Well, I think a check or bank transfers are probably always the best because they don't take any funds or fees off the top. They just come directly to you. If it's a check, make sure the check clears, obviously. If checks or bank transfers don't work for you, then some form of invoicing software would be a great next step. They're all going to take some sort of percentage of the transaction off the top, which kind of stinks, but what you get in return is a level of convenience and professionalism that maybe you didn't have before. So that's a nice thing to do. Last thing that I have to say about deposits is really just being self-assured and confident about who you are as a creative entrepreneur and not allowing anybody to take advantage of you. I've always found that the best way to talk about a deposit is not to apologize or ask for a deposit, but just to state it as part of your process. So, hey, if you'd like to move forward with the project, here's the next steps. You'll get an email with this, a contract like this, and a deposit of 50% can be paid upfront, and then we can start working the project. And you just say that confidently and professionally and don't apologize for who you are and how it is that you work. If they have a problem with it, you can enter into a business conversation, but it's all business. It's nothing personal. Well, that's it. That's my 2 cents on deposits. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell icon down there so you get notified when another video like this one comes out. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. I'll get back to them as soon as I can. I hope you guys are having an amazing week designing amazing things, making amazing things, and being confident in getting what you deserve. I'll see you in the next one.